You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr., and coming up, the latest trade rumors around Deebo Samuel after the news broke on Sunday that he has requested a trade from the Niners. We begin with this, though. It is today's poll question, and I want to hear from everybody watching this show right now. Where do you stand on all of this? Do you want the Niners to trade Deebo? Type T for trade, K for keep, a player who's had a great career with this team, but ever since signing that contract extension, his play has gone downhill, and the value that fans see in him has also gone downhill as well. So in case you missed the news on Sunday, Adam Schefter broke it in the lead-up to Super Bowl 59 that the 49ers have granted Deebo Samuel and his agent Tory Dandy permission to seek a trade partner. This comes after Samuel asked San Francisco to trade him during the players' exit meetings right after the year. This quote from Deebo: "It was a hard conversation to have with Kyle Shanahan because of the relationship that we have, but I have to do what's best. I'm more than thankful for the Niners for giving me opportunity of a lifetime, but now I think it's best that we find another team." Which leads us to this. Do the 49ers have to trade Deebo Samuel? This is the second time that he's requested a trade, going back to the lead-up of him signing that contract extension with San Francisco, which at the time he was trying to use as leverage. But you think about how things have transpired since then: injuries, decline in play, bad body language, gripped a long snapper up by the neck, asked for the football going into that Rams game, then proceeded to have a terrible game and dropped what would have been a would-be touchdown. And so his stock, as far as play goes, isn't what it was a couple of years ago, especially after that magical 2021 All-Pro season. But he's gone from a player who is really a fan favorite, looked at as a legendary Niner, to a player now who a lot of fans have soured on, who are also saying, get him out of here. We don't need Deebo any longer. And so the Deebo options here, the Niners could trade him for draft compensation. They could let him play out the final year of his contract, that being 2025. They could release him post-June 1. If they do that, the Niners would save $17 million the next 2 years. They're already going to use Javon Hargrave as a post-June 1 designation, or they could hold on to him. He could start training camp with San Francisco, and then the Niners could trade him later to see what the market is if an injury were to happen, for instance, to another wide receiver on another team, and that team becomes desperate for a wideout. That would increase Deebo's trade value maybe more than what it is right now. What I would do with Deebo Samuel, I would trade him. And over the last couple of off seasons, I've talked about the possibility of San Francisco, with an aging roster that's getting more expensive, having to make difficult football decisions, but having to make difficult emotional decisions as well. Deebo Samuel is a part of that. This is a player who's been a special player for the Niners, a team captain, important to the culture, a great player, a highlight reel-worthy guy who anytime when he was playing his best football, got his hands on the rock, he was a threat to take it to the house. But since signing that contract extension, he's been injured a lot. His numbers have declined. I think his attitude has changed a little bit. And he's an older player who doesn't pass the eye test for me right now. And then when you look at the numbers, all of them were the worst in 2024 if you took away his injury-riddled 2020 season when he was in year 2 and barely played at all. The tackle-breaking numbers are down. The yards per carry numbers were at a career low. He doesn't have the breakaway speed that he's had in the past. And given his playing style, it's fair to ask, how does he age? And so, with the way that he's played, has the physicality, which has made him great, caught up to him a little bit. The unfortunate thing for the Niners is this: I don't think his value is going to be that high, given the production has been on the downslope, given his age, entering the final year of his contract. I think the best case scenario, if the Niners trade Deebo, you're getting back a third, maybe. Most likely, though, it's going to be a fourth rounder because the team trading for him wouldn't have to take on a lot of the cap money. The Niners would have to eat that, But Deebo's probably going to want a contract extension if he gets traded to another team. And when I say his numbers have gone down, look at the numbers the last 4 years. So in 2021, that's when he was a first-team All-Pro. And he single-handedly carried that Niners offense down the stretch where they overcame that 3-5 start to make it to the NFC Championship game, running the football as a wide back, and then being an explosive player in the pass game. He was tremendous. That's what led to the big contract extension. So in 2021, he was durable, and the numbers were awesome. 121 targets, 77 catches, 18.2 yards per catch, 6 touchdowns. 2022, targets go down, catches go down, yards per catch go down, the touchdowns go down, games played go down. In 2023, he did have more than 1,000 all-purpose yards, but the receiving numbers really just okay. And then in 2024, very disappointing. 81 targets, 51 catches, and only 3 touchdowns, and failed to surpass 1,000 receiving yards when Brandon Ayuk was out for most of the year. So coming up next, I want to talk about some of the teams that the Niners could trade Deebo Samuel to, and some of the teams that are really being talked about as the hot Deebo Samuel trade destinations as of right now. And of course, this is a fluid situation, and that's going to change because I'm going to mention 5 teams on top of teams that come to mind, like the Buffalo Bills, who might want a wide receiver to add to what they have to give Josh Allen another weapon. The Las Vegas Raiders trying to add another offensive weapon on that team in addition to Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers. So we'll talk about those 5 teams coming up just around the corner. But first, I want to talk about our sponsor today. That is ZBiotics. Get 15% off at zbiotics.com/chatsports, or you can scan the QR code right here to my left. And if you're wondering what ZBiotics is, it's a tremendous product. It's pre-alcohol that is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. And when you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to drink this probiotic before drinking alcohol. Drink responsibly and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. And look, we all have busy lives these days. We can't afford to waste a day stuck on the couch because of a few drinks the night before. Well, ZBiotics pre-alcohol is the answer that we've all been waiting for. First time I tried it was a couple of football seasons ago. I took it before a watch party because you know how they can get crazy sometimes. And as instructed, drank a bottle of pre-alcohol before any alcohol. I was amazed at how good that I was feeling the next day. And every time I have pre-alcohol before drinking, it makes such a difference the next day. Even after drinks the night before, I know that I'll be able to continue my workouts, continue my running streak, have clarity, just feel good, be able to record some shows. So go to zbiotics.com/chatsports. You can scan that QR code that we've been showing you on your screen to get 15% off your first order when you use the code ChatSports at checkout. You can also sign up for a subscription using our code so that you can stay prepared no matter the time or the occasion. Remember, zbiotics.com/chatsports. Use the code ChatSports. Thank you, ZBiotics, for sponsoring today's episode and our good times. It's also backed with the 100% money-back guarantee. So we move forward here on the show. Few teams that could trade for Deebo Samuel here who are being mentioned as the hot teams right now as of this Tuesday, February 11th. Want to begin here with the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's a report that Deebo and his agent are eyeing the Pittsburgh Steelers. They badly need another wide receiver. George Pickens is their number one, right? He had 105 targets. The number 2 wide receiver after Pickens in targets, Calvin Austin with 58. And so Deebo could be a good running mate to George Pickens. Pittsburgh has a lot of money, $40 million in cap space, and Deebo fits their style. We're talking about the Steel City. Tough, physical, rugged. Deebo would love to play for a coach like Mike Tomlin, I'm sure. It's also a team that, ironically, Brandon Ayuk was looking at going to if he didn't sign that extension with the San Francisco 49ers. Team number 2, the Denver Broncos here. And the Broncos are very interested in being mentioned a lot because of Deebo being a great fit with Sean Payton, with what Sean Payton's been able to do with weapons, with what he's been able to do or did in New Orleans with a player like Taysom Hill. And then furthermore, Bo Nix is on his rookie contract. Teams are really trying to capitalize on the 5 years that these young quarterbacks are on their rookie deals if you take them in the first round. 4 years if not, because you can exercise that 5th-year option. And like a lot of the teams on this list, the Broncos have a lot of cap space, $34 million. They really lack a wide receiver outside of Courtland Sutton, who's entering the final year of his deal. And what is Deebo really good at? Taking a screen pass, turning garbage into gold, running through defenders, over defenders, house calls. While 15% of Bo Nix's passes last year were screen passes. So Deebo would be a really good scheme fit, and I just think he's the perfect Sean Payton guy. To team number 3, the Washington Commanders, the surprise team in the National Football League in 2024, making it all the way to the NFC Championship game, led by Jaden Daniels, who is also on his rookie contract. Washington, 3rd most cap space in the NFL with $78 million. Their general manager is the Niners' former assistant general manager, Adam Peters, who John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan hired back in 2017. Year 1 with the Commanders, helped put together a roster and draft Jaden Daniels, which led to the Final Four berth. Washington, 13% of their plays were screen passes as well. So you talk again about Deebo being a scheme fit, and their number 2 wide receiver, Olamide Zaccheaus, they could really use a running mate to Terry McLaurin. How about the Houston Texans here? Now, going into 2024, I thought they had a pretty loaded wide receiving core. Nico Collins, Tank Dell, they made that move for Stephon Diggs. But Tank Dell gets hurt, severe injury. Stephon Diggs tore his ACL, and all of a sudden, what was a deep wide receiving group is pretty thin. There's also the D'Amico Ryans connection, as he used to be the Niners defensive coordinator. C.J. Stroud is on his rookie contract. They're trying to get him back on track after a sophomore slump. And given that Tank Dell injury, given the Stephon Diggs injury, there are a lot of wide receiver questions there. Now, I would play John Mechie a little bit more if I'm Houston. I think that he can be a really good player in this league, but still, they could use a player like Deebo. Then there's the New York Giants. The New York Giants are in a precarious situation. They don't have a quarterback. They don't have a great roster. They do need a number 2 wide receiver next to Malik Neighbors, who had a tremendous rookie year. I think Deebo on that team, if he wants to get targets because he complained about targets with the Niners, hey man, go to New York. You might not win a lot, but you're going to get plenty of targets if that's what you're worried about. Brian Daboll is feeling the heat. This is a make-or-break year for him. If the Giants are bad, probably going to get fired. So is he looking at a player like Deebo? Let's acquire him, add another weapon to this team to make my job a little bit easier as the offensive coach here. The Giants have premium draft capital, including 2 4th-rounders. And I don't think the Niners can get a 3rd for Deebo. 2 4ths, though, I would certainly take that. I would run with it, and that would allow the Niners to stockpile draft picks in order to build up this roster, add depth to it, and it gives you cost-controlled assets, which is what the Niners need right now, with this team starting to get more expensive, and it looks as though they're going to sign Brock Purdy to that contract extension. So those teams being mentioned the most right now, I'll throw in the Buffalo Bills and the Las Vegas Raiders as well. So what would be your asking price for Deebo Samuel? My asking price would start at a 3rd-round pick. Then I'd bump it down to the 4th. In negotiations, professional advice, always start high and come down from there.